Look, we can have policy differences. We have that here in this building, every day, but it's not personal. It shouldn't be personal. I don't tell my friend Elon I don't argue with him about how to build rockets, and I wish he wouldn't argue with me about how to craft legislation and pass it. But we've had some good discussion. I thought it was helpful, fruitful, but it's just disappointing. I hope it all resolves today. Look, these are two titans. I respect them both, and that's why the kind of the blow up that happened this week was very surprising, disappointing to me. We had a very friendly conversation. I really like Elon. He's a friend. I've come to truly respect his acumen. The Doge effort was heroic, patriotic, helped us find a lot of savings and abuses that Congress was not able to uncover previously.
Well, now that Trump's puppy's been given word that he and Musk are never, ever, ever getting back together, he's got the heart to come out and tell Elon to keep building rockets, while he dismantles the economy. Is this the oligarch version of shut up and dribble?
Based on this White House meeting, they have problems with some of the tax and tips, the overtime, SALT, IRA. Who's that? The Senate. I mean, it seems like you guys are farther apart than you would like to be, certainly than you would like.
Things are not always what they seem. Okay, there's very fruitful conversations going on between the senators in the White House, and between all of us. So I'm just as optimistic as I've been from the beginning. I'm convinced we're going to meet this deadline that we've stated to get at the president's desk by Independence Day.
Maybe the optimistic Mike Johnson should have a listen to what Ron Johnson said about how close they are to getting their multi-trillion-dollar bill passed in the Senate.
So the president and Senate leadership has to understand that we're serious. They always say, we can pressure these guys. No, you can't. Okay, again, we're being very respectful. I ran in 2010 as part of the Tea Party movement. We were mortgaging our children's future. We were $14 trillion in debt then. Now we're over $37 trillion. We're serious about this. They need to take us seriously. Don't insult us. Work with us. Lay out the numbers. If you can say that our numbers are wrong, fine, let's work through it. But again, every analysis I have, there's greater upside risk to that deficit. Come to the table, let's look at the numbers. If I'm wrong, prove that I'm wrong, but let's do it with respect, but mainly respect for our children and grandchildren. This is immoral, what us old farts are doing to our young people. This is grotesque what we're doing. We need to own up to that. This is our moment. I can't accept this scenario. I can't accept it, so I won't vote for it unless we are serious about fixing it.
That old fart, Ron Johnson, doesn't like being disrespected by Moses Mike so much, he went on Fox News to call it out some more.
We didn't do the work. We did the same old way. We exempted most spending, looked at a couple of programs, tweaked them, tried to get a CBO score, talked about what seemed to be a big number, but a number that is completely inadequate. It doesn't meet the moment. We are facing a moment here where we've had an unprecedented level of spending increase from 2019, 58% to over $7 trillion. And it's just, we should have returned to pre-pandemic level spending in 2021.
Are you willing to take this so far as to blow up President Trump's agenda and lose the re-election in 2026?
Absolutely not. No, I want to see him succeed. But again, my loyalty is to the American people, to my kids and grandkids. We cannot continue to mortgage their future. The transfer of wealth from old people like me to young people is literally immoral. What's been happening, it has to stop.
Notice how Maria Bartiromo posed that question about Johnson's opposition being something that could blow up Trump's entire agenda and lose them the midterms. It made him slow down for a second at the thought of crossing their king before sticking to his guns, for now.
Are you worried about what Elon Musk is saying here, about that this bill could really drive up the national debt?
Well, it's going to drive up the debt. I mean, all you got to do is look at the numbers. It's going to continue to grow. And in 20 years, it's going to go up 20, 30 trillion more dollars. We can't afford that to happen. Okay, the big, beautiful bill is big. Not a lot of it is beautiful. Some of it's beautiful. But again, when you mix it all together, it just makes it that much harder.
Even though he admitted that the numbers do drive up the debt, there's still a good chance that dum-dum Tommy Tuberville think that that's a good thing, since Trump is still all for it. I mean, maybe that's why one of Trump's puppet masters and co-authors of Project 2025, Russ Vought, dismissed both Ron Johnson and Tuberville's concerns.
You're talking about the way that these watchdogs go about these projections. Are you just saying Tommy Tuberville doesn't understand the math?
No, look, I think the way the watchdogs are presented to the American people are going off of the watchdogs, whether that's Congressional Budget Office or
but
whether
generally
that's...
that's what the Senate does, and that's why Tuberville is saying, and he believes, and Ron Johnson believes, that this is going to add to the deficit over 10 years.
Kate, I can't explain people's belief. You're asking me about what the facts are, what is reality. The reality is that this bill reduces debt and deficits, and I'm explaining to you why Congressional Budget Office skews their results. And it's not just that they skew the results and don't reflect reality. They also have a historic inability to project the costs of things properly or the savings properly. They are not dynamic. So they don't do tax relief well, and then they look at spending, like the Biden green energy deal. And when they did that, there was $300 billion by their account, and we now know it cost $1 trillion. They are historically off, and we're just not going to accept that as we plow forward to get the American people what was promised to them.
I get it, but the question is the way you describe it, you would think every Republican senator, especially those who are deficit hawks, would be super happy to jump on board then, but they're not.
Kate, you can ask the question 3 or 4 different times. The answer is the same. We have to articulate and explain what the bill does and how the watchdogs go about their business.
It doesn't matter how many facts are presented, or really how many Republicans acknowledge those same facts. Russ Vought, Donald Trump, and Mike Johnson's only answer is that their empty attacks on organizations somehow outweighs the studied analysis from those organizations. It's why he said that they're just going to plow forward without thinking, the same way that they've decided to give up on denying they're kicking people off of Medicaid, if you pay attention.
People are screaming and saying, hey, it's kicking people off Medicaid. It's not kicking people off Medicaid. It's transitioning from Medicaid to employer-provided health care. So, yes, we've got 10 million people that are not going to be on Medicaid, but they then are going to be on employer-provided health care. We think that's a better option for the taxpayer and, quite frankly, for their families as well. We're not going to deal with a $2 trillion overspending all in one moment. We're going to have to chip away at this to be able to get the votes to be able to do it a piece at a time.
The more their plans to kick people off of Medicaid get exposed, the more their gaslighting and renaming of it happens. So now, according to Senator Langford, all you petulant taxpayers that are screaming about this don't realize that they're not kicking you off of Medicaid. They're just transitioning you to employer-based health care. Forget the fact that the number of employers that offer some form of health care, whatever level that they may be, varies based on all kinds of factors that leave it around 50%. He also wants you to forget that while Trump's tariffs that have no end in sight and other economy-killing policies destroy businesses and raise costs on the same Americans in need of that health care, that the number of Americans filing for jobless benefits last week rose to the highest level in 8 months.
The weekly unemployment report shows new filings are the highest in 8 months. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says 247,000 people applied for unemployment benefits last week. That's an increase of 8,000 from the previous week.
I think we're starting to see signs here, Diane, that the job market's starting to cool off. Remember, the job market has been this pillar of the economy. Despite lots of bad news, despite the tariffs, we've seen the job market really holding on. So this number, it's a weekly number, and it shows that the number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits is now at its highest level since October. And some other reports this week, again, point to that cooling off in the job market possibly, because fewer Americans are now quitting their jobs, which means they're not as confident about finding another one. And also, the number of jobs available for each person has gone down a little bit.
It's like these legislators either don't know how anything works or just don't care how their extremely out-of-touch perspective of how regular Americans live their lives doesn't match up at all to what they're demanding. So just listen to them. Their only goal is to give the rich and corporations more money. And if that means people lose their health care, great. If that means people get sick and die, as Joni Ernst said, fuck them. Listen to how little of a response Representative Pete Sessions has to any of these hurdles, because his sights are dead set on passing their tax cuts and letting us figure out how we're going to pay for them while they ride some more yachts and sip on some more champagne.
The bottom line is that this has to come together as a piece of legislation. You see, John, if we do not pass our one big beautiful bill, then we negotiate with Democrats, essentially 9 Democrats, that simply raises spending to get us to where we get the tax cuts that we save them where they ought to be. So It is no question about it, not a perfect battle for
But
us.
I don't
for
understand.
Republicans.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Congressman, but I don't understand. You talk about the bottom line. The CBO says the bottom line is literally $2.4 trillion additional debt. This is a bill that you support, but you're also against adding to the debt. How can that be?
Well, it's going to go through the Senate, and we're going to find out what the Senate wants to do, and then we're going to make the final vote. I don't want to have any deficit spending, but what I'm trying to suggest to you is that we are stuck in a paradigm where we have to pass this ourselves.
Do you think this will increase the debt by $2.4 trillion?
I think that if we fail to keep business here, if we fail to help communities that are in trouble, the federal government will spend more money. I see the federal government spending less money if people become employed. If we do the things that we're trying to do with health care to encourage people to stay healthy as opposed to expensive surgeries and being sick.